Okay. Hey, welcome everybody. Ian DeBose will undergo a battery of tests tomorrow, and then his results will be evaluated by our medical team, and then we'll determine from there if if he will be available or not to return to the court. After watching the game, Pittsburgh game, I wrote down a couple of things. I thought Masood kept us in the game in the first half just by making some tough 3-point shots. I thought Odi Aguama's 2 quick fouls really hurt us in the first half. He's got to quit doing that. But I did think Emmanuel Okongwu played really good defense. I challenged my team at halftime to defend better. I told them that, basically Pitt was playing horse in our gym, shooting 61%. And then we held them to 33% in the second half. We were able to put score pressure on Pittsburgh, which we haven't been able to do in the second half since we got in the ACC, but we didn't finish the game properly. We got to stay in attack mode with the lead, not wait for the clock to expire, stay aggressive. We didn't handle the end of the game full court pressure very well. We put a lot of pressure on Davian and Carter to beat it by themselves. Can't run from the ball. Got to embrace pressure, meet the ball. When the ball's trapped, you got to have 3 outlets and a throw over. And on the last inbounds play, Jalen Johnson, he should have hit Davian earlier, and his pass kind of led him to the sideline, and which forced him into a tough situation. He could have called timeout, but really, and the other part of that was Masood had broken open right down the middle, and is a really good free throw shooter. I'm proud of our guys for the win. 8 of our first 12 games in the ACC are on the road. And so, every game is going to be difficult, but, we've played some really good teams. So that was a great win for us. Headed into NC State, they've had their issues, with COVID. And it's hard coming back, as you guys have seen with us, with conditioning and rhythm and timing. But Kevin Keatts is one of the best coaches in the country in turning defense into offense. And that's kind of our kryptonite, turnovers. I'll give you some numbers. Daniels, Funderburk, and Helms, they can really score the ball. About 6 years ago, my first year at ETSU, we played Wilmington, and Coach Keatts taught my wife a really important lesson about making plans after a game. It was Thanksgiving weekend. We were playing pretty well. We beat Georgia Tech, beat Green Bay, and Wilmington came to town and thumped us. And my wife had made plans after the game to go out with a bunch of people to get something to eat at Smoky Bones. And I went directly home. And she found out from there on, we don't make plans till after we see how the game goes. And so Coach Keatts is responsible for that. I look at synergy. I know everybody likes to look at Ken Palm, and Ken Palm is important, but synergy is also important to look at. And it breaks down some of your percentages. And Ken Palm, when it does offensive efficiency, it takes into consideration zone and against everything, zone and man. But if you break it down, like half-court offense against man, we're 5th in the ACC. We're scoring a .91 per possession against teams that play man in the half court. That's pretty good. But against zone, we're last. Okay, our half-court man defense against now man, not just man and zone. We're 9th in the ACC. We need to do better there. Uncontested shots in the half court against man. We are 1st in the ACC in creating uncontested shots and 10th in the country, but we're last in the ACC in turnovers. And our 3-point percentage went up last week from last in the ACC to 7th. But when you make 13 and 15, you're going to do that. And we've got to make, I've told you all along, we got to make threes to win. And so those are some interesting numbers. I thought after timeouts, execution, we're 6th in the ACC and 55th in the country. So I think we're getting better, but we got to stay on that path. And we got a really tough game coming up here on Wednesday against NC State. I'll open it up for questions.
Steve, I guess first off, I know getting that win doesn't make you coach any different, but as far as like what it allows you to say, or if it's a point now where it's okay, we've got this, now I add to it with this, like where do you it go from here as far as having that win and coaching going forward?
I mean, I think the very first, Ethan, the most important thing is that players have to understand, and I made it pretty clear yesterday, that I'm more on edge after a win than I am maybe after a loss. And I think it's never as good as you think it is. It's never as bad as you think it is. And so I wanted to set the tone yesterday that move, next. Okay, nice win, move on. And we got to learn from our mistakes. And so the things that I was talking about there were our mistakes of how to, what you just said. We got to concentrate on what we didn't do well. And that was we didn't finish the game against pressure, and we're going to get pressure against NC State. And we executed pretty well in the first half against the zone. We made a couple threes, Masood and Johnson, and they got out of it. But at the end of the game, that was kind of, they went to the Alamo or, the last defense, and we didn't stay in attack mode. We stood like we did against Georgia Tech. And we want, I guess we felt like the clock was going to expire in time, but it almost didn't, and so, those are some things we got to clean up. And sometimes it's hard to clean those up in practice because you just don't have the pressure, right? The score pressure of the game, but we got to try to create that the best we can moving forward. And we do have their attention because of that. And I think too, they're confident, they've been confident even through losing. And so I'm proud of them for that.
Coach, how much patience have you shown with Carter the last week or so, where he never was guarded by a 6'10" guy in high school against Carolina. And so you take him out after 5 minutes with the turnovers. And then late in the game, he had a turnover as well on Saturday. Have you found that you're a little bit more patient with him given his circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, probably so, but I'm extremely pleased with Carter. I mean, I think he's doing great, and you're right. I mean, Carolina comes out and running jumps with the big, but that's not on Carter. That's on the guy who they ran off of. The guy that the big ran off of has got to make himself available right now and not run from the ball, right? He's got to come. I mean, you're not going to dribble out of that. And so you got to pass it. Well, you also got to have somebody to pass it to that wants the ball. And so I think that's part of the problem playing is pressure. You can you can scheme up all you want. All right. But you got to come get the ball. And then you got to attack them and make them pay. And we didn't do a good job of that. And then against, there's a lot of guys that would turn it over against Pitt late because they were coming at us. And again, I mean, there was a lot of pressure on Davian and Carter to handle the ball by themselves and not guys making themselves available. Again, when you get trapped, you have to have 3 outlets and a throw over, behind, middle, side, over the top. And I didn't see that, and so those are things that we can clean up. But I've been extremely impressed with Carter, the way he handles success and adversity by just being the same person, right? I prefer guys to act like they've done it before. And so I think he's really good at that. And, he's learning the reads. He understands the play. Now you have to understand the little things inside of the play or what we're running, where to look to get the ball to somebody. Because he's a natural pass first player, right? He's not, and I've told him, you have to go to score and then pass. It's in this, at this level, to get in there and think pass first, the defense is a little too good. You got to go to score, make them guard you, and then make the pass. So I think he's doing great. The most important thing that he missed, guys, was in July, August, September, practice is all about pace, tempo, playing hard, defending, and getting bigger and stronger. And he missed all that. And so he comes in and he practices like they're not even real practices when he gets here because we don't even have 10 guys. He plays against a D2, and then he gets thrown into the Lions Den. How would you do? I mean, I think he's done great, and he's got a lot of confidence. And, here's the other neat – the player, sometimes it's hard, to mesh with guys when you come in at Christmas, right? that's been seamless with him, and that's impressive. And and this is going to sound a little kind of corny probably, but I'm excited for our players that they're going to see students on campus and get back to some type of a normal life. We haven't seen students on this campus since Thanksgiving, right? And so even for somebody like Carter to experience the college experience, besides just going to practice every day and hearing me, yelling and screaming and blowing my whistle, I'm glad that they're going to get a chance, to when they get back from Raleigh to walk on campus with their students. And so, and he's going through all that, and I think he's done great.
Steve, I wanted to follow up on that about Carter. How much, now that there's been several weeks of having him in there, how much do you think it's benefited his game, like being exposed to this, but also for your program to sort of you're trying to build something and you're getting him in here and getting him started? This extra year of eligibility makes it a different scenario than normally you would have handled it.
I mean, I think it's incredibly beneficial, Aaron, for him and us. I mean, next year is going to be his freshman year, right? I mean, now you're going to say, oh, he played next year's his freshman year. Okay. And so, I mean, it's no offense to high school basketball, but this is like he was in, he's getting a master's and a doctorate right now in hoops, right? And ahead of schedule. And so I think it's going to really be I mean, you could tell a kid, hey, it's like this, it's the pace, the physicality, but until they do it, they don't get it. And he gets it now, and so he's I mean, and I think you look at some of the other guys, I mean, Masood will be a sophomore next year. Oguama will be a sophomore next year. Mucius will be a junior next year. Davian will be junior. I mean, on and on and on and on. Yeah, I mean, I think it's beneficial for all of them. And that's why we got to run our own race. And I know it doesn't sound very sexy when you guys ask me, what are your expectations for the year? My expectations have always been to run our own race and to build and then add them up at the end. And hopefully it's enough. But to build and to get the things in place that are important to me. And I hope that's a reflection of the way they're playing. More important than anything is just competing, being resilient, and playing hard. And when you can do those things, no matter how talented or not you are, you got a chance to win. And I think we've proven that.
Hey, Coach, looking ahead to NC State, where they have the best turnover margin in the ACC. So considering how well they take care of the basketball, how can you disrupt their offense?
Well, it'll be hard. I mean, Lauren, first of all, I'm more concerned about us just giving it to them. It's kind of like kryptonite. I said, I know you guys are young, probably didn't watch Superman, but I'm more afraid of us just giving them easy baskets, and that helps their offense. I think Lauren, I think if we can get them in a half court and get them where and shrink the court, then we got a good chance to maybe create some turnovers. But they're not a real pass offense. They're going to beat you off the dribble, and they're going to ball screen you, and they're going to get going downhill. We can't let the ball get in the middle of the court. We've got to try to contain it. We got to try, like we did in the second half against Xavier Johnson. In the first half, he was driving it to the basket, okay, or getting in the middle. Second half, he didn't get in the middle, and when he was driving it, he had three people cupping him. And he had a little bit tougher time making plays. We got body on body. We're a lot better team when we got bodies in front of bodies instead of angles. And I guess that's what I'm telling you is we got to keep bodies on bodies. Now, Champagnie, he made a couple of those body on body. He just made plays. You shake their hand and move on. But over time, and I think a good example is Pitt, 61% in the first half. 33% in the second half. And we did a lot better job of executing the game plan, obviously, in the second half. And I think the same thing is going to apply with NC State. Get back in transition because they're fast. And that's another reason why they get easy baskets, build a wall, get body on body, and make them shoot it over you and then go rebound. I mean, I think that's the best way to beat them.
Hey, Steve, I know it's early, and I know there's a lot of basketball left, but you talked about your guys coming back and Odie still being a sophomore and so on and so on. Have you had any discussions yet with your seniors in terms of if any of those guys might be coming back? And will those scholarships, if they do come back, count against you or not?
No, they don't. Now, if they transfer and play somewhere else, like, if they want to go somewhere else, those seniors, then they would count against the team that they transfer to. That's the way I understand the rule. But like, for instance, we have 3 seniors. So if they all wanted to stay, is that right? 3 grad? I think that's right. We'd have 16 guys on scholarship next year if that happened. I really haven't. I did have some conversations with Ian, actually even before, he got sick. And so, I feel good about, him maybe coming back, but I'm not 100% on that. That's something that's between, that we'll have to discuss, at the end. But that it is something that I've been thinking about. And as you get ready, and you also have to think about that as you construct your roster moving forward. It's like, is anybody going to come back? And if they are, what does that mean to what you need to get? And so, I think we'll cross that bridge here soon. It's a good question. And it's something that I've been thinking about really since Thanksgiving, and it's never in my career have you ever had the chance to have more than 13 on scholarship too, and let me say this, we have some really good walk-ons. And one of the reasons why we're always prepared is because they make us prepared. Miles Lester and J.R. Mathis and Blake Buchanan and Grant Van Beveren, those guys are really good scout team players. And that's really important too. And those guys, so if you add those guys in, I'd have so many guys in the gym, it'd be like Clausen. I'd be like, having a defense and an offense, but we'll see how that plays out in the next, month or so. And we'll have to know moving forward because we got to make some decisions in recruiting.
Dating back to your days at JUCO, Coach Keatts said yesterday to us that you've had a relationship with him for the last decade. Yeah. He even said he doesn't call many people a funny guy, but he would say you are, dating back to the Zoom calls this summer. What kind of relationship do you two have?
Oh, I would say we have a very good relationship based on, just knowing each other pretty intimately. As far as I knew Kevin when he was at Hargrave. I was recruiting his program when I was at Tennessee. We played each other. He signed my point guard, Chris Jones, at Northwest Florida, who was the National Junior College Player of the Year at Louisville. Coached him and Coach Patino. Spent a lot of time with him then. Got the job at East Tennessee State, and we played home and home. I wasn't very smart on my part. But I will tell you this. He whooped me good my first year, and they were good. They went to, I think they might have went to the tournament. Our second year, we both went to the tournament, and we had a heck of a game in Wilmington. Now, they ended up beating us. We ended up playing in the same regional in the NCAA tournament. Had we beat Florida and they beat Virginia, we would have played each other in the NCAA tournament. And that game probably would have been in the hundreds with the 2 teams that we had. I like Kevin a lot. I think he does. Obviously he's a really good coach, but he's a good guy. And he's one of those guys that when I came into the league, I knew, probably him and Josh and Chris and Chris Mack probably, the best of just, growing up through the business. But I think Kevin's is fabulous. I think he does a great job.
Steve, I know you said that you're more on edge after a win than a loss, but with the team, have you noticed any change in their demeanor in the last 48 hours or so?
I'm sure they got a little bit, their shoulders are probably a little bit taller and they're a little bit smile on their face. That was the most satisfying part of the whole thing. It wasn't getting pneumonia from the water, which I can't imagine how football coaches handle that out in the cold. Because, man, that was freezing. Just to see them smile and me not have to come in and tell them, guys, we're right there. We got to do this, this, and this, and we're going to do it, and then having somebody like Isaiah Mucius get 27 points at North Carolina and not score in the game against Pitt, but be the most vocal leader. That's when you know you're starting to get something going, right? When you enjoy being part of something bigger than yourself, and it ain't about you. It ain't about you getting your numbers. It's about us. Now, a lot of guys say it, they just don't live it. I'm seeing it. And those are the things that are important to me. And just the joy of, hey, man, we can do this. And listen, when you're trying to build a program, you're trying to change some things, they have to have success, you know? And that's why I was so concerned about losing the non-conference, was just the fact that I could do this. We could put these things in, we could demand these things, and then we could go win and they would feel good about it. It's important, you know? And so we missed that. And so it made it harder. But hey, we've stayed with it. And, you know, like I said, if now I don't have to, you know, I called the commissioner a week ago and wanted to get 32-minute game contracts. Now we can get to 40. And we're moving down the road. We've gotten past that. And, you know, now we can just finish games a little bit better. Right. And, you know, and what did you expect? I mean, when you've never had a lead against a really good team, who's, by the way, team's only shooting 39% against them, we shot 46, you know, that you're just trying, I guess, you know, you're trying to hold on for dear life, but that's not the way it is. You got to keep punching. You got to keep attacking. And you got to go from 10 to 15, and then everybody gets to play.
Coach, you mentioned Odie picking up a couple fouls early and the fact that you cannot allow that to happen. What have you done in terms of coaching him to stay out of those troubles? Because he's certainly found a diverse amount of ways to pick up those fouls. They haven't all come from aggression.
That's a nice way to put it. Diverse. I don't know. I mean, I've really thought about, like, beginning of the second half, and it's not our ball, and the guy's got 2 fouls. I've really, a lot of times, I've not even started the guy in the second half, because what happens typically when you come out in the half, very first possession, they go right at him, ref, foul, 3, 4, you're out, right? Whatever. I mean, he's got to play smarter. You know, there's a fine line between being aggressive and then just being kind of making silly fouls. And I mean, we show him on film. He knows he's a smart guy. You know, the first foul was silly. He just walked underneath the guy, but he wasn't in position. He wasn't ready to go. The second foul, same thing. We're in ice. He reaches. No, never have we told him the reach. You know, just keep him in front of you. Make him shoot it over you. So I think some of it's maturation. Some of it is just being more focused. You know, he's had some moments early too where he doesn't execute, you know, and so maybe, you know, I need to probably do a better job of, you know, making sure before the game I'm talking to him and making sure he's focused on what we're doing. And we need him. I mean, he had 10 rebounds basically in the second half, right? And he's somebody we can throw the ball to, even against his own late. You know, when we were struggling, we went right to him and he got it right on the block. I wasn't in love with the shot that he took. I think Odie's better when he is aggressive to the basket, not shooting those fadeaway, you know, shots. But, you know, I think Odie's got a chance to be a special player here and be an all-league type player down the road. He's just got to grow like everybody else.
When you were hired, you said in-state recruiting was your number one priority, and NC State is certainly known to recruit well in the triad. So what kind of impact do you think this game could have on recruiting?
Lauren, I don't think games have any impact on recruiting, and I'll tell you why. When I was at Tennessee, we went down and beat Memphis. I never lost to Memphis as assistant coach, and it didn't have any impact on recruiting in Memphis. Either we were going to get them or we weren't. So I don't think kids really truthfully look at who wins and loses to make a decision on where they're going to go play. I think it really comes down to opportunity. You know, what kind of opportunity is there for and the style of play. And so, you know, we're going to recruit against each other, but we may or may not, depending on what that kid is looking for. But in my experience in recruiting, which is pretty long, kids don't make decisions based on games. They make it based on what's best for them, you know, and so it's a very fair question. And we do have a lot of North Carolina kids on the team right now, if you look at it, you know, and I'll probably miss somebody, but, you know, we got Ian, Davian, Isaiah Wilkins, Jalen Johnson, Odie Aguama, Blake Buchanan. There's 6 right there. I'm probably forgetting somebody because I don't have the roster in front of me. So I think we're going to, Carter. There you go. And so there's, I think 7, over half of our roster is from North Carolina. You know, so we've done a good job of, you know, doing that. And Robert McRae is from South Carolina, and we'll continue to do that. But I don't really believe that players make decisions based on games.
Steve, just to ask you like one more offensive question. I know we mentioned after the game, you get 27 out of 2 guys a piece at UNC. You get 30 plus out of Ish. I guess what does sustainable look like? I don't know if you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you can bank on those kind of performances every night, but like, what does the sustainable version of that look like? As far as
I just think balance. I mean, Ethan, I just think balance. I like balance. I don't like I don't think we should have to depend on one person every game for us to have a chance to win. You know, I like, you know, Davian will have his, and, you know, and Mucius and Masood. You also got, you know, I think Aguama, you know, is capable of, you know, having a big scoring game. You know, we lost Ian and Tariq. They were our 2 leading scorers, I believe, in our first 2 games. And so, you know, I'm not going to ever dissuade a guy from averaging 20 a game. Okay. All right. Don't get it wrong here. But I think the more balanced that you are, the harder you are to prepare for. And that's part of the identity thing, of sharing the ball and not one person just dominating the ball every possession. And I mean, I'd love to play against that defensively, because you can scheme for that. You know, when you have guys all over the court that can make shots, that's part of the old recruit offense, coach defense deal, then you're hard to guard, you know? And so I look more for that. And, you know, I'm not expecting, you know, Ish to go score 31 points tomorrow night. Now, if he does, let's go. Okay. But if he don't, then I expect everybody else to step up. And that's part of being on a team, right? And holding each other accountable to a higher standard. And when one guy's not doing well, the other guy picks him up. And that goes back to practice. And I've always been a big believer in that, is, you know, encouraging each other and helping each other. And that's part of it. You know, hey, you know, like, for instance, Pittsburgh came out, and what did they do to Davey? Man, they hard hedged with that big center, and they were all over him. Well, tonight's your night. You probably got to give up the ball a little bit. He had 6 or 8 assists, I think. They almost had a triple-double with turnovers, but some of that's not on him. But you have to understand, right, that, you know, what the defense is giving you, and then you find those guys. Like we found Ish wide open. Not all of them, but some of them. You know, and the same thing with Zay against made some tough shots, made some open shots. And that's just part of sharing the ball.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys. Take care.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah. You good? Okay. See you.